Hello everyone, this is Ashley Tucker for My Favorite Things. Today I'm going to be showing you how I created some really simple bookmarks using the Bookworm Bears stamp set. This bookmark design is really great because not only are they very cute, but they're also pretty simple to create, so I think that you can make them no matter what your skill level is. Of course, you could use any images that you want for your bookmarks. They just need to be able to fit on the bookmark. I'm going to be using these bear images from the Bookworm Bear stamp set. I took 3 of the bears from the set and I stamped them all twice so that I have 6 bears. Now I'm only making 5 bookmarks, but I figured I'd have an extra bear on the page to color in case I messed up on the coloring with one of the other bears. So as always, when I'm doing Copic coloring, I like to use the Neenah Classic Crest Solar White cardstock. I stamped them using my Misty tool, and I used a Copic friendly black ink. For the coloring on the bear's fur, I did want to do neutral colors for all of the bears, but I did want them to each have slightly different colors for their fur. So I picked out different neutrals for each of the bears, and you can see the marker caps are off to the side in case you're curious about the colors that I used. When I get to the coloring of the other things in the image, such as the books and their clothes, that's where I'm going to be bringing in the color. Now, the last time I did a video for the MFT channel, I did notice in the comments that somebody was asking about when I touch the tips of 2 markers together and why I do that. I just thought I'd mention real quick because I do that in this video. Whenever I'm trying to blend together 2 different marker colors that are a little bit too different from each other, I touch the tip of the lighter color marker to the darker color marker, and then I blend using the lighter color marker with a little bit of that ink on the tip from the darker one. And that allows me to get a nice blend between those 2 colors, even though I don't have a color that's in between them to blend with. I hope that that wasn't too complicated to understand. I hope that I explained that well. Basically, it lets me use a color that's in between the 2 markers. I create my own color pretty much. I add ink to the lighter one that is a little bit darker, and they mix together and make a in-between shade. In regards to all of the color choices that I made for the books and the clothes, I did pick out all of my cardstock for my bookmarks before I started coloring, so I tried to match my Copic colors to those cardstock colors, and I did go with some really nice bright rainbow colors, so you can see that I'm using those same colors for all of the coloring here, and I just tried to make sure that for each of the bears I used colors that went well together. For example, the little bear with the red shirt, I put a yellow book and a green book underneath him because I thought that those colors looked really good together because they're all kind of next to each other in the rainbow. Out of all the little bears, I think that this little black one is my favorite. I just really like the way that he turned out. Once all these little guys were colored in, I did use the coordinating die set to cut them out. And then while I had my die cutting machine out, I did start working on cutting out the bookmarks. So these are all the colors that I picked. I do need 2 different colors for each bookmark. For the bookmarks, I'm using the Wonky Stitched Mini Slimline dies, which are created for slimline cards, but I thought that these were perfect for making bookmarks. There are 3 dies in the Wonky Stitched Mini Slimline die set. I am using the larger of the 3 dies, so the 2 larger ones. The larger one I'm using on the darker colored cardstock, and the smaller one I'm using on the lighter colored cardstock. So I'm doing kind of a tone on tone bookmark, where for my red one I have a dark red and a light red, and so on. So here are those all cut out. You can kind of see where I'm going with this. Now, warning, if you do not like cutting your stamps apart, look away. I'm about to do some stamp surgery. I did pick out one of the sentiment stamps from the Bookworm Bears stamp set, and I decided that it would look better on my bookmark if I cut it into 3 pieces. Now, I personally don't mind cutting apart my stamps. I think that it gets me more use out of them, and I do think that it's easy to put them back together using a MISTI or a stamp block. But I do know that not everybody is going to be into that. Now, if that is a problem for you and you don't want to cut your stamps apart, that's totally fine. You can do some masking while you're adding your ink so that you can stamp it and get the same results. So I did stamp this same sentiment on all 5 of my bookmarks. I did it in white embossing on 4 of them, and then for the yellow one, I stamped it with VersaFine Onyx Black ink, just because that yellow color was a little bit too light for the white embossing to stand out. Next, I wanted to dress up the backgrounds just a little bit, but not too much, give them a little bit of a subtle design. So I'm using Versamark ink and some smaller stamps to add a pattern to the background. The stamps that I'm using are from the Bookworm Bear stamp set. I just took some of the really tiny images from that. And then I also grabbed a couple of the tiny stamps from the Hip Hip Yay Day stamp set. And I just stamped those with Versamark ink. For the yellow one, the Versamark wasn't showing up very well, so I grabbed a yellow ink and I stamped with that. All right, time to start putting things together. So I grabbed my colored in images and I glued them down using a liquid glue. I glued those down on all of the smaller of the 2 colored panels. And then I took those panels and I adhered them onto the larger panels using my ATG tape runner. Now, while I placed these, I did not center them. I made sure that they were a little bit towards the bottom, leaving some extra space at the top for the hole that I'm about to punch into them using just a regular hole punch. If you don't want to add a tassel to your bookmarks and you want to leave them super simple, you could always skip this step. For the tassels that I'm going to make, I pulled out my embroidery floss and I picked out colors that I thought went well with my bookmarks. And I'm just eyeballing the size of these. I made 3 different strands here that I cut off with my scissors. I'm going to fold those in half and thread them through that hole. And then I'm going to loop through the end. And then I'm going to tie it off at the end here. And then I'll just take some scissors and snip the end so that it's nice and even, and that gives me my tassel. I did that to each of my bookmarks, and then I grabbed my white gel pen and I'm just adding a few really simple highlights to these. And then I decided that I wanted to add a little drop shadow under each of my little colored in bears. So I'm taking a Copic marker that's kind of the same color as the background, and I'm just adding it underneath each of those for the drop shadow. And then these are all done. Super simple, easy bookmark design. I think this is a good design that you could take and easily change parts of to make your own. These are great for when you want to use it for your own book, or if you want to slip them into an A2 size card for somebody that you know enjoys books, and they also are really great for kids. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you really enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time.